Hello and welcome to the MLB DFS Slate Breakdown for Monday, May 6th. We are here. We're back for another week of DFS, and we got a fun slate on our hands. Now, as always, we will start off by going through some perfect lineups and winning lineups from Sunday's main slate. We will follow that by some pitchers to consider for today and stacks to consider. Before we get into all that, please come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to everything we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all, one low price. Now, let's go. And before we fully get into it, just a little bit of programming stuff. I am going to be out tomorrow morning. So unfortunately with that, I likely will not be able to get a DFS rundown done for tomorrow. I will try to get it done tonight, but I got a lot other to do. I got to pack for myself, my daughter, because we will be on a plane tomorrow morning. So I will try to get it done tonight, but there is a good chance that we don't have it. So just want to let you all know that now. Let's get into this slate. All right. So, starting off on FanDuel, we got Tariq Skubal, who had a masterful game and scored 52 yesterday. Then the Washington Nationals just went nuts, and we had a couple Rays make the perfect lineup, along with Jose Ramirez, Josh Rojas, and Vladimir Guerrero. So, we had a real nice perfect lineup here, almost using all the salary, 800, or actually not even close, sorry. Didn't use all the salary, huge 343 total score. And then the winning lineup went to Sully Brochill, who won 20K with 257.2, which happened to be almost a full 100 less than the perfect lineup. And how did they do it? Good old four-man Washington stack just went nuts. One off of Toronto, one off with Judge, one off with good old O'Neal Cruz. And actually, sorry, it was a two-man Toronto line, stack. So 4-2-1-1, got it done with good old nasty Nestor Cortez, who has been extremely good to start this season. And let's get over to good old DK. We got Skubal, we got Nestor Cortez, three-man Washington, two-man Rays. So after that, couple one-offs. So good old 5-2-1-1 for the perfect lineup. Bringing us to the winning lineup, which was way different. We had John Gray, Hunter Brown. Wild that this is the winning lineup, with Brown only putting up 9.75, but they had a five-man Washington stack that just went nuts. Jose Ramirez, Vlad, and Contreras, who hit a home run, who just put him up there. So his pitching didn't lose it for him. Definitely didn't win it for him, but didn't lose it for him. Hitters carried him, and he got it done. So, good old 5-1-1-1. And let's take a look at second place. So, second place, pitching was way better, but the stacks just weren't quite as good. He had a 5-3 in this Toronto stack. Didn't quite get there, and he had a couple of guys, the Washington, that, didn't put up as much as he could. So, congrats to Termite. You won, I think, $50,000. So, congrats, and let's move on to today's slate. All right. We got a six-gamer. Major weather watch here is Royals and Brewers. Now, this game looks like it is going to start clean. So, starting pitching is probably okay until we reach that fifth, sixth inning, and then that's when weather may start to creep in. The expectation at this point is they should be able to finish this game. As far as a pitcher's standpoint, if they're pitching good is the only way that weather likely really gets in the way of this game. But it's early right now, so absolutely pay attention to weather as the day goes on, because a lot can change as the day goes. So, highest owned, Andrew Heaney, 6.6K, 33% owned. Guy is super cheap, going against Oakland Athletics. One thing, though, the A's have been a little bit hot lately, but first lefties, they're just not that good. Now, our projected lineup probably will change a little bit. Right now, we have them striking out almost 35%. As they put more righties into their lineup, or as we do, that number will come down a little bit. But Oakland A's have been bad versus lefties for a little while now, and it's more of that today. So there is a lot more upside for Heaney than we're used to in this start. However, it is a little scary going with Heaney as super chalk, given that he has a 5.58 FIP over his last 5 and a 4.05 over his last 20. So 4.05, way better than that 5.58 number. But there's still not a ton of upside in Heaney himself with an 18% K rate. Another scary thing, Oakland has hit a ton of home runs lately. Heaney's allowing 57.5% fly balls, almost 29% hard contact. He's getting the ball barreled a little bit. Team VBP data is not enough data, but the small data is showing they have hit Heaney well in the past. So this is one of those spots where I do not mind at all the leverage Oakland stacks. Heaney as a high-owned pitcher is a little questionable here. So I like both sides of this. I do think Heaney's, a nice value, but also Oakland A's have been hot. They put up 20 runs the other day, and I don't mind chasing the little hot streak for a value stack. Next, we got Luis Castillo, 9,600. Dude is a stud. He's in a decent matchup here. Minnesota has been hot and hitting the ball well versus righties, 332 WOBA, 180 ISO, but they do strike out at almost 24% versus righties. Meanwhile, Castillo, 2.54 FIP over his last 5, 30% K rate. He's got the upside you want, and he is such a good pitcher. I don't really care too much if he's facing a hot Minnesota Twins team. I still don't think their bats are that great, and Buxton is likely to miss. So there is definitely some reason to want to go with Castillo, and he's been good versus the Twins in the past. 28% K rate and 68 plate attempts. It's almost like 3 games worth of data. So not bad here. Combined K rate being 26%. I think there's a lot of reasons to want Castillo tonight. And I would expect he is the highest owned pitcher, not Heaney. Either that or Ragans. Next, we got Walker Buehler coming in at a decent ownership. 9.23 or 9.3K on DraftKings is a little high for me, seeing that he went 75 pitches in his last rehab start. So I would say he's likely held around, 85-ish, so not fully stretched out. The other thing here is Miami striking out only 22% versus righties, and Walker Buehler has only a 22% K rate. Now, this is also data from 2022. What we've seen a lot lately is the guys with these elbow injuries and these Tommy Johns that come back don't necessarily have all of their K stuff ready to go. So if we look at what he's done in his 6 minor league starts since he's back, 4.125 ERA, 1.62 WHIP, 9 walks, 21 strikeouts in 21 and 2/3 innings. So he's been right around, 1K per inning, or actually just under that. And you step up to major league hitting versus a team that doesn't strike out a ton, and you can really see that strikeout upside likely isn't there tonight, along with the fact that he's going to be limited pitching. I don't love the spot for Walker Buehler. If you do want to go there, I get it, because he does have games where he can be super efficient and work deep into games. But I think, his ceiling is just very, very limited. If he gets 6 innings here today, I would be surprised. If he gets over 6Ks, I would be surprised. So I just I don't love the spot at 9.3K for Walker Buehler. If you get some, I totally understand. I would not talk you off it. I just probably am not going to have a ton if he is, 25% owned. Next, we got Cole Ragans, or Reagans. Not totally sure how to pronounce it, but guy has been absolutely incredible. 2.6 FIP over his last 20 starts, 3.11 ERA. Over his last 5, a 1.82 FIP with a 4.44 ERA. So he is pitching better than his ERA shows. I would expect some more regression to those better numbers. And we know there's big time strikeout upside, plus Milwaukee Brewers striking out 25% versus lefties. Now, they do have a decent WOBA versus lefties, but they don't hit lefties that hard with a 134 ISO. I love this spot for Cole Ragans, and I'm definitely going to have some, especially if his ownership comes a little bit lower because of weather. Now, as of now, I talked about this weather looks like it's going to come later in the game. I am absolutely willing to take that chance that it doesn't affect Ragans, or if it does affect him, it's when he's already gone 6 innings or 7 innings and likely isn't going to finish the game. Anyway, so I'm very intrigued. We got a almost 24% combined K rate, and at a little bit lower ownership, I'm definitely intrigued. Next, we got Yu Darvish. Cubs striking out almost 25%, low WOBA, hit the ball hard versus righties, but I'm very, very intrigued to go here. He's familiar with the park. He used to pitch for the Cubs. He's comfortable on that mound. Wind is blowing in, and that's a good thing for Wrigley. 3.44 FIP over 4.07 ERA. Some regression to the mean coming there. Issue, though, he only went 70 pitches in his first game back off the IL. So definitely a little worried about him being limited, as he only went 70. And so far, on the year, he has one game where he went 92, but for the most part, he's been held to 80 under. So I don't love his upside in this spot. I do, however, love the spot. So I'm going to have some of him. I'm just not going to go overboard because I am worried about that pitch limit a little bit. Kind of like Walker Buehler. He's in a very similar spot, but a little more K upside than Buehler in this spot due to the Cubs' proficiency at striking out. Simon Woods Richardson, he's decent. 3.64 FIP over his last really 3 starts. But Seattle striking out almost 28% versus righties. They hit righties hard, but don't get on base at a good clip. I'm a little bit intrigued. I don't love the spot, but at 7K, you could definitely do worse. Kyle Gibson, I think he's due for some poor regression, 4.5 FIP over that 4 ERA. But big thing here is he just doesn't have a ton of upside. Now, he's been pitching decently. The Mets aren't great. So at 7.3K, I'm okay to take a couple. We got a 2.2x value. So he's definitely going to show up a little bit. And I'm intrigued to have a little, just not going to go overboard. Sean Manaea, I think, is priced a little high. Don't love him. It's also kind of the best hitting weather there. Justin Steele. I would be very intrigued with Steele if I knew he was going to pitch a little bit longer. It's another spot where I just don't think he's going to stay in the game very long because he's just coming back from a hamstring injury, and it looks like he went 3 1/3 inning on 63 pitches on his last rehab start. So don't love that upside. And I think we got to talk about Rodri Munez just because he got it done versus the Chicago and versus the Rockies. However, we covered this before. His minor league numbers are not that great. This 34% K rate is not going to stay, and I would expect a harsh return to reality for him this game versus the Dodgers when he finally sees a very, very legit Dodgers offense that's hitting very well today. I would have a hard time going there. Now, let's get into the Fanduel pitchers real quick here. And highest owns, Cole Dragons, 9,500. Definitely intrigued for them. A little bit of a price bump on FanDuel, but I still like it. Luis Castillo, I still absolutely like it. Buehler is 1,000 cheaper on FanDuel, so he is a little bit more interesting for me. However, I do have worries that he's going to be able to pitch 6, so no quality start bonus if that is the case. And with his lack of K upside, I have my reservations about going there. Darvish also may be on a little bit of a limit, but I do like Darvish, and I think he can work efficiently. And I do think his pitch limit is a little higher than what we saw, that 70 pitches from the last game. I would expect him, if he's pitching well, to be able to get up to 90. Gibson's priced a little high for me. Heaney, I think, is very interesting at very low ownership on FanDuel in just a spectacular matchup versus the A's. Even though they are hot, I will definitely have a little bit of him. And that's pretty much where we're at for pitching. FanDuel, I'm really not looking to get that crazy. I just don't love the other options here. So let's get back over to good old DK and look at some stacks and try and get out of here. So I'll start on good old ceiling here. And no surprise, we got the Dodgers at the highest ceiling. Munoz has been good, but his minor league numbers are not great. And I totally buy into the Dodgers being the highest ceiling. Now, if we go over to owned, now we know Dodgers are going to be one of the higher owned, but Seattle is also there versus Simeon, Woods, Richardson. Now, I did mention Woods, Richardson on pitchers to like, and with Seattle being this high owned, I think Woods, Richardson looks a lot more interesting as a pitcher just due to the leverage here you get. Every strikeout he gets, it hurts Seattle, and it helps your lineups move up the board. So definitely intrigued with Richardson, and I don't mind playing either side. However, I do think Seattle being the highest owned stack is not the greatest thing in my eyes. Dodgers are popping up all over this as well, as they should be. And let's move to the highest projected stacks. All Dodgers, all the time. Not surprised whatsoever. Munoz just isn't that good. Texas is popping up. The Mets are popping up. I think both those are very interesting. Especially Texas versus Alex Wood with a 6.57 FIP over his last 5 starts, 4.3 over his last 20. Kyle Gibson's been pitching well, but we know he can get blown up, so I don't mind going there as well. And on to the value stacks. Oakland, as I said, especially on DraftKings, Heaney looks like a higher owned stack, so I like, or a higher owned pitcher. These Oakland stacks I like a lot more on DraftKings than I do on FanDuel due to the leverage that you are getting. Because Heaney is so high, these Oakland stacks have a ton of leverage, and the team's been hitting. So you got to kind of like that. Miami's popping a little against Walker Buehler. That also makes sense. Look, this is a guy that just had 6 starts, had over a 4 ERA in the minors. He's still working back. He's had a very, very big layoff from Major League pitching, so I don't mind taking some Miami stacks here, especially if Buehler is getting a little ownership. He absolutely could get hurt as, talent level. He's jumping up to the major leagues versus Miami. Now, Miami is not a very good offense, but still better than most of the minor league offenses that he would have faced. So I don't hate that call. Ceiling we went over, it was already Dodgers. Let's look at the FIP before we take a look at everything else here. So Kyle Gibson, highest FIP over his last 20 starts, and the Mets. So no surprise, I guess the Mets were popping a little bit for a higher projected stacks here. And they've been hitting decent. Gibson can get blown up. Makes some sense to me. Now, the highest implied total games, we didn't even cover KC. 4.6 implied total over Bryce Wilson. And I don't hate it. 4.6 FIP over his last 20. 4.46 over his last 5. And, Gibson popped up as the worst FIP, but Wilson is right next to him. Only 0.03 lower than Gibson. So definitely worthy to attack Wilson. And we know KC can score in a lot of ways because they like to run as well. Minnesota has a 4.3 implied total. Castillo is going to be one of the higher owned pitchers. Makes it a little interesting to want to stack Minnesota, maybe just a little bit for that leverage. And Seattle's popping up, and we know Seattle is a bit interesting. Just going a little high owned here. I do have to mention that Simon Woods Richardson, high hard contact rate, high average exit velocity, absolutely a bit intriguing. And then for San Diego stacks, I want to bring up the fact that the Cubs bullpen hasn't been great. Steals a little bit limited. San Diego did just get Luis Arraez as well, so that should help their ability to just score runs a little more, just because more guys are going to be on base with that dude. Now, that'll pretty much be all today. One other thing. I don't mind the Seattle stack against Sean Manaea. Manaea's been decent, but we do know from the past he is very erratic, can get absolutely crushed, but can also pitch well. Also, probably the best hitting weather with, 80 degrees something weather in St. Louis. So don't hate going there while everybody's going to the Met stacks. St. Louis does have the higher implied total. All right, guys, that'll do it for us today. So good luck. Let's make some money. See you guys later. Bye.